got your attention now, don't I?
This is the Black Rifle Coffee Podcast. Prepare to get caffeinated.
BJ, great to have you on the show, man.
Thanks. Good to be here. I remember.
Fuck you.
I remember coming in here like, what was it? Night before last, to stay the night and whatnot. And I looked at this. I was like, damn, I wish I would have brought gel blocks.
Yeah.
All the sound deadening and stuff.
Oh, you could get some actually ballistic testing in, is what you're talking
So
about.
ventilation is not
You're
ideal,
like,
but
a basement, a lot of soundproofing.
it's
I can shoot
perfect.
firearms.
Yeah.
That's where he goes.
And if I get passed through, it's not really a big deal.
We're in the basement.
Yeah, there's a couple
Yeah.
fences out there. It'll stop it around. You'll be fine.
It, yeah.
Not with that 10 mil.
Not with hard cast 10 mil. That goes a long ways.
Yeah.
Well, how the hell you been, dude?
I've been really good.
Just like, placing.
Well, I
racing
mean,
trucks.
this is a special episode. I mean, it's a Black Rifle Coffee episode.
It is.
Podcast
It is.
episode. And we're announcing you are officially under the Black Rifle Coffee banner now.
Wow.
No more green bad guy, huh?
No more,
Yeah.
no more green bad guy.
Yeah.
No, it was good to be with them for, the time that I was. And I mean, you and I talked for a long time. We all talked for a long time, and he used to send me subscriptions since the birth of the company, which I always appreciate. And I always want to talk about and I try to help like as much as I can. But I'm supposed to only drink, at that time I'm supposed to only drink.
That's in the past. The future and
Way
the
in the
present
past.
is
Yeah.
you're on Team BRCC.
I've
You
always
have a fucking
loved-
kick-ass truck. We're so excited.
The
to have
truck
you
looks
on
crazy
Team, dude.
cool.
It's
Oh
like,
my
what
God.
about the design in that? Let's talk about that.
It looks awesome. It's definitely more suitable to my lifestyle and stuff like that. I could never really talk I've done, concealed carry, defensive tactics, a lot of a variety of different training with a handgun, and I'm pretty good with a handgun. I'm pretty fast. I can shoot 4 rounds in under a second from concealment, which took me a lot of work to do. But I never really talk about that much, under that claw banner, which was really frustrating. I would always get phone calls like, "Hey, listen, you need to calm it down. Guns are bad. Which was really aggravating.
I remember when we were at the airfield and you were kind of looking around, you're like, is it cool if I rip some rounds? We're like, yeah, we're in the middle of a fucking desert in Texas.
Yeah, there's a range.
Yeah.
You're like,
I looked at the left.
you were kind of like, I can do this? Oh.
Yeah.
And then I think when we sprayed the trophy truck with the casings from the minigun and the little bird, you were
my
like a kid in a candy
God.
store, dude. You had
That
your camera out. It was an exciting moment.
Quite a
for me.
smile on your face.
From
you
ear
would.
to ear, it was like a waterfall of brass on the trophy truck. I was like, I'm home finally.
I was stoked.
Yeah, a bunch of
super
gun
cool.
heads
Yeah.
that, you've seen and done so much when it comes to racing. And it's awesome because we were talking last night for, I don't know, at least a couple hours. So we were talking about ballistics and managing fear and the, psychology of high adrenaline events,
Yes.
whether that's racing a truck or shooting somebody. They have parallels. They have parallels.
They're
Imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that we kind of share the same skill set of compartmentalization of fear and catastrophe management. This is for those of you that are watching that don't know, I have most people that follow me and most people that know me know that I was attacked with my girlfriend in a parking lot a little over a year and a half ago. And an asset to solving that problem was the compartmentalization of fear and kind of, putting off panic or compartmentalizing that and waiting to find a solution to solve the problem. And it's nice that, through motorsports and almost killing myself 5,000 times, I've been able to develop that skill, and that I kind of have that skill with you guys. Obviously you got it for different reasons. You guys signed up to go to war and to fight battles and stuff like that. So you develop that from people trying to smash you every day, and I'm trying to smash myself over the last 20 years.
And I don't think maybe people I knew to some extent, but you are a full on like weeb nerd when it comes to ballistics and everything. Like just chatting with you yesterday, and we've had plenty of conversations, but like how like your loadout in your magazine, like what kind of ammunition you're carrying and you do some really cool stuff, and it's really interesting to hear why you do it, and then the fact that actually you're testing rounds and the ballistics, their penetration on what level of arm. And you're like, man, you think through this like more, like you're the 1% of the 1% on that stuff. You're a great resource for knowledge, at least in your own personal perspective and what you've done. And I think it's a really cool thing. It's very educational for me, honestly.
No, I appreciate it. At the end of the day, it's vehicle dynamics, whether you're in the vehicle or it's, something else. You're trying to stabilize the platform that is propelling a projectile. And the projectile is obviously also a vehicle, and you're trying to get it to do X, Y, Z. I have a different loadout for like magazine, loadout for my house, for when I travel interstate. And then I have a different magazine that I have for like, if I'm in a shopping mall or somewhere where there's a lot of people. I've gone, full nerd on all that stuff and done a lot of research, a lot of testing. I tested, I can either confirm or deny, and I will deny that I've been testing in my kitchen for the last year and a half, probably 2-3 days a week.
It's a lot of denial.
It's a lot.
A lot of denial.
Yeah, that's a lot of denial.
Fine. We're fine.
Gunshots are not that loud after like 2 a.m. I know both my neighbors, they never said anything.
Yeah.
Which that's never happened.
No. If it were to happen.
If it were, I imagine the neighbors wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
This isn't the best segue, but whatever. I want to go back to when we did some content and a video shoot at the airfield, and the razor. Like, we haven't talked about this yet, but that shit, like, what you do in a vehicle is something like a normal person like me. Like, when that's happening, you're going, we're fucked. We're all gonna die. And what he was doing is he's taking a razor, right? It's a 4-seater razor, and the Can-Am, I believe, right?
No, it's Polaris.
Polaris.
Yeah,
Polaris. My bad. And you just whip it up on 2 and be riding it, and you feel like you're in a constant fall, but somehow we're not crashing. And it was such a mind fuck where I trusted you, of course, but like physiologically, everything that my body's been conditioned over the last 35 years is going, you're going to fucking eat the pavement, dude. And it was just a really bizarre experience for me. And I wasn't like scared. It was just uncomfortable because you're not used to.
You were on the high side. My face was right next to the
Yeah, JT could touch the ground.
Yeah,
we happened to break it, but that's okay because I think we did it like 700 times.
I was burning up the hubs. Actually, like the thing that was really, really hard is like the last 2 takes, the hub was broken.
Yep.
So the front wheel was like going like this, and I had to put it up on the bike while the wheel was like this and steer the hell out of it to try and keep it up so that you can.
And I like because Jared was there too. We landed back after we broke something. BJ just kind of gets out, kicks the tire, goes, we should be good. Like, you didn't really
check anything.
You just gotta kick the tire, but no, you're a professional.
There was grinding sounds going on. The tire wasn't what we were concerned about.
Well, we had to get the shot, and it was already broken. You can't break it again once it's broken.
Right.
Like, so I was like, all right, let's see if we can get this done without it ripping the whole corner.
But that rewinds us back to, you came on board with us a few months ago, but you were heavy into, you had to go into a race and then back into testing, back into a race, which is why, this has been delayed up to this point. So now you've completed 2 races though, under our banner.
Yeah.
What has been the reception in the truck community of you showing up with this thing?
Yeah.
They are, like looking at this whole thing like cross-eyes. They're blown away that, Black Rifle's involved and that you guys have grown enough to be involved in a variety of different motorsports. And reception has been great. Everybody's like really excited. They're super, super excited. I've gotten so much love over social media from this, especially from, I have a lot of followers that are veterans and most of my friends are veterans. A lot of them are SF guys. So they've been like super, super stoked about it. They've been super happy.
The motorsports community is one of the few that I've ever seen that like when somebody brings in a new sponsor, they celebrate it.
Yes.
But, and you don't see that in other realms. Like in skateboarding, when Ryan Sheckler brought in Target and like mainstream, all the skateboarders shunned him when they didn't realize like this could legitimize the sport, bring the contests up higher because more money's being pumped in. So he got kind of
like
castigated.
jealous.
Whereas like in motorsports, when you bring in a new brand, everyone goes, oh yeah. They all kind of like kind of high five you because you're keeping this thing alive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. They like all the top drivers that I'm like super tight with and I get in battles with back and forth. They were like, whoa, at the time, when I left Monster, they're like, oh my God, what is going on? Are we going to see him back out? Like they called me and they're like,
right,
bro, what's up? What's going on? Are you out? Like, we don't want you to be out. We like, getting in vehicular fist fights with you. Please tell me, you're going to continue. I'm like, yeah, I can't really talk about it right now. And they're like, well, who are you going with? And I'm like, I can't. The only thing I can say is, all these guys are really good guys, and they're willing to die for you and me, and they've proven so in previous years, and they're awesome. So I can't wait to share that information.
I'm just stoked to be a part of the sport. Like, it is so cool to watch because it's so out of my knowledge or my realm of knowledge that it's bizarre. I can't wait to get to a race because some of our guys have been out there and they, will like FaceTime me and they're just like giddy little children watching the trucks just whip by as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Because how fast are you going on some of those courses? Like high hundreds?
Yeah, the best example that I can give, everybody knows what like a Ford Raptor is. It's like, the best handling production vehicle that you can go buy. A lot of people have them. Evan, you got one. I think they're fantastic vehicles. But like, through my test section, a regular truck, like a diesel solid front axle truck or like any kind of like a TRD Toyota, whatever, that you go about 16, 17 miles an hour through my test section. A Raptor will go like 22, 26 miles an hour through my test section. If it tried to go 40, it would explode. And my truck goes 116, 118 miles an hour.
So gnarly.
It's more about trying to get more traction and trying to keep it from skipping around so it's more aerodynamically efficient than it is having to slow down for the bumps. So I can't wait to take you guys for a ride.
I can't wait either.
Wait.
I have a bet that Evan would actually be good at driving it.
Yeah.
Because you freakishly picked up the boat and started whooping everyone's ass in the boat within your second try.
Yeah, but I think there's something that's different to that, which is it's water, and I have like zero fear of water. And I can't say that I don't have fear of speed. It's just hitting solid things at high speed. That's, what I don't
try and avoid.
Thing. Water's an ever-changing surface that's at that speed. It's solid.
Yeah. What were we doing? 100?
You were doing over 100.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the water, it was a lot of fun. Like racing is really fucking fun. I think if I were younger, right? Like if I were younger, kiddos. No, I love it. Like it's one of those things where you can concentrate all of your energy into the one thing. I don't get stress. So to your point, we were talking about this last night. We were talking about like stress inoculation and stress. Like I just focus on the task and I don't give a shit. It's kind of like, and I don't know if I've compartmentalized it or if I'm just so focused on the task that I've already rationalized it. In my mind, I've already rationalized, which is if I wreck, it's not a big deal. I'll deal with it then. Like I'll deal with it then. It's not a big deal. But just like in the boat, for instance, I kept telling the throttle man, like, pin that fucking thing. Like, pin it to the ground. I'll tell you when you need to let it up, but don't fucking, but don't let up. Like, just pin it, and then we'll throttle it back from there. Don't worry about it. So within a few laps, I don't know. I think trucks would probably be different. I can't imagine I would be any good at it. I love it. It's fun.
I mean, you took the rally pretty quickly.
It's fun.
I will crash that truck in 2 seconds, so do not let me drive. I will be driving in the passenger seat. So
things that take years in order to be confident and competent in doing, there's no way for somebody typically to step in and be good at it. Like it's like not a human. It's not humanly possible. Like a lot of people think they're good shooters, and then you step out on the range, and then you step out against somebody that's got 0.12 splits on the fucking 7-yard line with a sub-second concealed draw, and you're like, oh, never mind. I thought I was good, but no, I'm not. Yeah, not really.
I actually had like years ago, I had a professional drifter out, Vaughn Gittin Jr. He's one of my old teammates, but And we were going to do like trading places content. This was a long time ago. And first I was going to drive his car and he was going to drive my truck, my truck around a test loops, 13 miles. And then his car like around a track. I was like, okay, come out and drive my truck first. He's like, okay, cool. And we bring the truck out and he's like, okay, let's go. I'm like, no, you're driving. Like, wait, you're not going to like take me for the loop and then let me drive. I'm like, no. You drive, I want you to learn and get a feel for it. And then I'll take you for a loop. Because if I take him for a loop, then he'll see like, this is easy. Because it looks easy. Like if he was going to take me for a loop in his drift car, I'd be like, okay, this doesn't look that hard because he's done it a billion times. So I let him drive it, going up the lake bed, he's going 120 miles an hour. And then exiting the lake bed, he's, going like 65, 70. And he was doing a good job for somebody who's never been in it. But, when I took him for like the lap when we traded places and I took him in my truck, then I'm like 139 off the lake bed. And instead of slowing down for the bumps, I'm more concerned about getting as much traction because I know even though the 3 and 4 foot bumps, I don't have to slow down for it. It's more of an issue about connectivity to the ground to keep it going 136, 140 miles an hour, whatever.
Right.
So I'm going, 60, 70 miles an hour faster in each section because I understand how close the line is. The difference between going fast and being efficient and being upside down and on fire is a very, very thin line.
Right.
So he was actually like shocked at what it would go through, at the speed it would go through. Because when he's driving it, like through my test section, he's driving at like 65, 70 miles an hour. And he's like, man, this thing is amazing. If my truck is going close to as fast as it's supposed to go, it's all over the road. I mean, it's bouncing, and
because you're constantly you're off the ground.
But if you just commit and just try and control it and make sure that, you don't step out, then it's instead of just. So once he was able to see that, he was like blown away. And he's a really good driver. He's a really, really good driver. But I wanted to make sure that he was well within that line.
Right.
So that's, we're not upside down.
Upside down on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Preferably not what you do.
Preferably not. It's not that fun.
How have you driven have you driven like a NASCAR and a rally, Formula One? Have you driven other cars? And
I don't fit in Formula One. I sat in Formula One. The steering wheel's like this. All the Formula One drivers, they're pretty small guys.
They're like jockeys.
They look just like jockeys. Yeah. So, but I have driven Robbie Gordon's NASCAR. I have driven a stock car, Carve tomorrow. He was testing for, I want to say Sonoma. Mm-hmm. And Robbie like beat the hell out of everybody at road courses because these guys are all used to turning left for years. Yeah. And Robbie came from not Formula One, IndyCar. So he used to beat the hell out of everybody. So I got to drive his, they call it car tomorrow at the time because it had spoilers and stuff like that. And that was really crazy. I stalled it 6 or 7 times coming out of the pit because it's only got 4 speeds and first gear go 120 miles an hour.
Whoa.
So it's geared, it's got like, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And, 1st and 2nd are gone. It's geared really, really tall. So that was fun. That was cool. I got to go 190 miles an hour at Atlanta. I think it was Atlanta Raceway on their road course. And then, to answer your question about rally cars, they're awesome. Rally trucks don't turn that well.
Right.
Like, race trucks don't turn that well because of the dynamics of how they have so much suspension travel to work. So in order for them to work in the really big bumps and ditches and stuff like that, they have to be really loose. So they're really difficult to turn and manipulate and rotate and stuff like that without getting them upside down because they have so much body roll when you turn left or turn right. Rally cars, they do exactly what I asked them to do.
Right.
They are awesome, super awesome. They don't go through ditches at 75 miles an hour, but they turn really well.
What's that like though, from going from your truck to the NASCAR, for instance, or, a race car like that? Like, is it so much different that you're not appreciating it? Or is it, this is fucking cool? Is it?
In an odd way, it feels exactly the same.
Really?
it feels exactly the same. It is a very refined and honed in instrument dedicated to one purpose. Just like, my race truck. My race truck, the best way I can explain how weird it is it's the only race car in the world. It's the only race car in the world that doesn't accelerate very well. It doesn't like to change direction or corner very well. It's not very good at it. It doesn't like to, it takes forever to slow it down. So why is it so special? Why is it so cool? Well, it doesn't have to really slow down for much. There's not much that slows it down. So it's basically processing bumps, ditches, and stuff like that, and making sure, you can use all of the suspension at all times. So it's really cool.
Yeah. And watching some of the stuff that you put out, how far have you jumped that? Like, what's the longest that you know of?
I almost held the record for indoor jump, but I ran out of budget to move the ramp, and we were on a time constraint for Tacoma. It was gonna be like $60,000 to push the ramp back another 6 or 7 feet. I think I'm within like 5 or 6 feet of the indoor record. So second place, first loser for that. But like for that big jump in the Tacoma Dome, we originally had budget to do like a mock jump in Elsinore and get all that figured out. But somehow, that got cut from the budget when they didn't tell me. And then when I showed up, they're like, this is the ramp and we're going to do this on the last day. I'm like, good, because I'm terrified of it. Because the ramp is like huge and I'm supposed to hit this transition at how fast? Are you serious? Why didn't we get this stuff done in Elsinore? So that was a one shot, one take thing. And it was fortunate that it was perfect. Like it didn't even bottom out or hit the bump stops on landing.
Really?
On the takeoff, it hit him really hard.
Really?
Like I weighed 2,500 pounds, on the take. I was so mad because I had stunt coordinators and really, really smart people. And they're like somewhere between 67 and 69 miles an hour. And my truck in 346 feet on pavement will barely get going that fast, even though it's got, 800, that truck had about 850 horsepower. So I had to have a perfect like drag racing launch to get there and record my speed in first gear on the chip, like on the rev limiter. I did that with some law enforcement guys that were super cool in Tacoma. And the GPS is the only speed, recording thing that I have. And it takes, you guys know from doing the boat thing, it takes a couple seconds for it to upload and get the speed. You're accelerating the whole time. So I went off the ramp, according to the GPS, I went off the ramp at 59 miles an hour. So that's unnerving. Because if I come in, at less than 67, then I'm going to hit the front of it and it's going to suck. Or I'm going to go overshoot it and possibly compress vertebrae or break my back. So I got it the first try. I had wheel hop and then, it's really aggressive asphalt. The second try, I just lit the tires up. So I'd turn around and do it again. And then the third try, I got a good run up the ramp and slowed it down. And, my fiance and my son were watching at the time. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified because I had no practice to do this 190-foot jump indoors
in the Tacoma.
And you can't see it going up to it because, from low light tactics, looking in from broad daylight going into something that's not properly lit, you can't even really see the ramp. You can see it in the video in the in-car where I'm going in and it's all dark going into that. So I was like, fuck, dude, I'm more afraid of not doing it in front of my son than I am of getting hurt. So get the fucking drones in the air and turn the fucking cameras on. We're doing it.
What level of confidence are you going to that? Is there a sense of 10% of just send it? Because I feel like you can make all the calculations, but there are so many dynamics there where you just kind of have to trust your driving and the equipment and the ramp and go, guess this is the one, and just kind of like bite down on the mouthpiece and go.
Yeah, I wish I had a mouthpiece at that time. Like this close to chipping the tooth. No, it was really terrifying. But like I said, my son was watching. He was a little bit younger at the time, and I was more afraid of like, dude, I'd rather go to the hospital than have him watch me not be courageous enough to compartmentalize fear and get this done. And it ended up being perfect. When I went off the ramp, I hit the stops so hard. And I did have a significant level of adrenaline.
Kind of bottoming out, right? So the
like
audience,
bottoming out.
Oh, yeah.
The bump stops. I remember going off the ramp, and I had 10 minutes of flight time. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know how it goes. So I had adrenaline dumps. So what was only like a few seconds it felt like 10 minutes. I remember going off the ramp, and I was like, I'm so furious at the stunt coordinators. I was like, this was way too fast. If I don't have to go to the hospital, I am going to like throw them out the window. I'm so mad they got this so messed up. But they were perfect. I went off like this, and I thought that I was going to go through the building. Just kept going up or like get hooked on the lights on the top. I thought I was going to the moon. And then like about halfway through, you could see it in my face because you see like the in-car, and I'm like, and then aerodynamically, there's no more turning force on the ground. I'm not getting any more grip on the ground. So there's no more turning force in the air. And it just went and kind of slowed down. And I was like, oh, okay, I think we're good. All right, I don't have to murder anybody today. And then we got the shot, and it was perfect. I just turned around, did some donuts in front of the last guy that was going to get the last shot.
Right.
And it was good. It took me a minute to calm down.
I mean, you hit the landing just without even
like
the suspension.
Greased it.
Yeah, just
greased it. And I thought even if I did grease it, it was going to go and hit like super hard. But the takeoff was harder than the landing. It was really pretty scary.
We're going to have to watch this thing.
Yeah, the amount of control you have with that. I remember when we were at the airfield, you didn't tell us, and you came burning in at like, I don't know, 40-something miles an hour, and then just do a 180 right into us. And it looked as if the truck wasn't going to stop. And I'm like, BJ Baldwin just killed me or just crushed my entire legs. And then you just stopped like a foot away from us. And I was like, that was pucker level 1,000 because there's nothing I can do.
You said, don't move.
Yeah,
don't move.
And after
don't
that,
move.
Like, well, we didn't know. And then you said, don't move. And I'm like, all right, I'll just trust you. And then, you would.
Don't move.
And it's crazy to see that truck coming in that fast, and he whips left and then just goes and circles at 180 and stops, essentially at the front of that table to you.
Well, the weight transfer is so violent.
It looks
because
like
how much movement do you have in those shocks? Because
25 or 26 inches of travel in the front, 30.
So when he hits the brakes, that whole body goes forward, and then he hits the gas. So I mean, it's like violent in front of you,
and it looks like it's going to roll over every time you turn.
Yeah,
it
really does.
That's probably something that you were like, what in the hell is going on? Like it looks. Plus, that particular surface for that airstrip is really grippy. It's really abrasive, which to do the 360s there was actually, I was like, okay, make sure the butterflies are open and you got tire smoke because this could just tumble if you let off the gas. So that, even like sliding up to you guys was, I had to pay more attention to it than I normally do because of the grip factor.
Right.
Okay.
So, but it ended up working out. It was cool. That was a fun day. That was super fun.
Was little birds flying around, chasing the airstrip.
So
it was
cool.
a good day.
So now though, what do you want to do to push it? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What's your dream? He has a dream, and it involves launching Priuses into the air. But what's your dream?
I like that. I love racing. I love making awesome content, and I love my particular chosen field of motorsports, and being able to convey the performance of what we're able to build because it's so amazing. I always say like nobody really knows what a trophy truck is capable of until they get out of it. If they've gone like up the block and they've gone through a ditch big enough to fit a school bus in at 85 miles an hour, then they're like the people that I've taken for rides, they are scared when they get in. They're terrified. And they're terrified as soon as I shift into second gear, and then they're not scared anymore. They're like confused. They're like, how is this happening? This doesn't make sense. Like that bump right there would make my truck explode and I didn't even feel it, so it's pretty interesting to take people for rides that are like terrified and then they're just like confused for 15 miles of going 118, 125 miles an hour.
Do you just hate driving a normal vehicle instead of the trophy because it's so much more limited in its capabilities? You're like,
gas mileage is better.
Yeah, gas mileage is better. You get about, 18.
You guys are burning like jet fuel in that thing, right?
Close enough. It's 118 octane leaded late model plus. It's, motors 13.5 to 1 compression. It's like driving a normal car. It's different, but I try to stay away from that. The car I drive every day makes about 1,000 horsepower, so that helps.
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
You drive a Porsche, right?
I do. I drive a 9N1.2 twin turbo, Turbo S,
right,
with Toyo R888Rs on it. Really grippy tire. They only last for like 5,000 or 6,000 miles because they're such a soft compound. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Stock, it would go 214 miles an hour. I don't know how fast it'll go now.
How fast have you had it going?
214 miles an hour.
Closed course.
214 miles an hour,
Somewhere
of course.
Wow,
Yeah.
200 in a car.
That's fucking nuts. So when you look at your field of racing or your field of motorsports, when you look at other motorsports, because there has to be other forms of racing that you're looking at where you're like, that might be cool, and you haven't done it, right? So like Top Fuel or something like that.
Yeah.
Have you looked at anything else that you haven't done yet and you've been like, dude, that looks like fun. I want to try that.
Definitely. The nice part about my particular sport that's challenging is, you're in paint shaker for 6 hours.
Right.
It's really, even though the truck is capable of a lot and can go through really big bumps at a high rate of speed, you're still bouncing around like crazy for a long time. So it's physically, taxing. It's amazing what the trucks can do. My particular strength is in car control because, when I started racing, I really did not like crashing. It's not fun.
Right.
I'm probably,
That's a fair statement, I think.
It's expensive.
It's expensive, yeah. I was probably more afraid of it than most people. So I developed a lot more car control than even like some of the top guys. Like sliding up next to you guys, there's probably maybe 2 guys that I would trust doing that. Probably one. I'd probably be like Robbie Gordon or something like that. But most people on the surfaces or on the sections of Baja or the sections of certain race courses like Vegas Arena and stuff like that, where the consequences for going off the road are really severe.
Right.
Like blowing a corner is like a big problem. I tend to thrive in those areas because I have a lot of control over the manipulation of the vehicle, braking distance and rotating, accelerating, and leaving super hard. I'm super, super good at that. Better than, 90% of the field. There's only a couple guys there's only like 2 guys that can have a good, like, vehicular fist fight with me in certain roads like that in Baja. So that's kind of where I shine. And with the cool part about desert racing is you get one opportunity to hit the corner perfect every single time, and there's no corner that's like really the same.
Right.
And one area where I think that my strengths would really benefit is in rally.
Really?
100%. They're not going to go through ditches at 85 miles an hour or go through 3 and 4 foot bumps at 118 miles an hour. But my ability to manipulate direction and control vehicles would transfer over there really well. I drove a rally car about 10 years ago, and it was awesome. The truck is constantly disagreeing with me and my decisions when I'm trying to slide it around corners, that have bumps in them, and there's a cliff right here and a rock wall right here, and I'm trying to make sure I keep it on the road, yet be super efficient and have the longest straightaways that I can possibly, get or use as much of the road as I can. all that stuff transfers over to rally. Like when I drove rally car, it did everything I asked it to do. I mean, I was looking at, reverse entry around a barn in Timony Rally School, which they were nice enough to let me drive like one of their real cars. It was super, super cool. Yeah.
It's so foreign to me. I just want to go fast, like Ricky Bobby.
So this just says like getting you in a rally means the limitations are just getting you good notes and a good co-driver, and you're gonna excel.
Yes.
Is essentially what you're saying.
I think I do pretty good, and I got a really strong right foot, not only like for hitting the gas, but for kicking ass. And I can't wait to kick Ken Block's ass one day. I think that if I got
in a rally car
to do that would be really, really fun.
I've looked at like the Top Fuel, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those guys and, the short track, like really high speeds. And I'm like, do you ever look at stuff like that and go, man, that'd be fun. I'd love to try that. Or is it more like, meh, whatever. I want to try something different, like long and strategy driven. There's like technique involved, or is it like...
Caleb, did you know with Black Rifle Coffee's Coffee Club subscription, you can get fresh coffee shipped to you every month? What? You don't even have to go to the store. Whoa. You don't even have to leave your bed. What? Wow. How did you get in here?
You might want to go ahead and join the Black Rifle Coffee Club subscription before one of these guys shows up at your place.
Does that even entice you at all?
Yeah, it does. But it's not, like for me, it's not as driver involved, I would say, from the aspect that I look at it.
Yeah.
And 100%, I'm not saying there's no driver involvement in drag racing, but it's all done in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Whereas my work effort is in the biggest races.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, the Baldwin 1000, when we won it in 2012, it was 20 hours and 15 minutes.
20 hours.
Yeah, when I won it in 2013, it was like, I think it was 16 hours. So there's a lot of like preserving your energy and being efficient. And
how do you train?
Mistakes.
Like, how do you work out? Like, what's your daily workout look like for this? Because this is fucking long, like marathon driver events.
Yeah. It's really hard to train for that in a truck because like after a race, all powertrain comes out, drivetrain, the rear end comes out, upper and lower control arms, spindles, all the steering components, motor trans, all the shocks come off, all the hubs, everything gets rebuilt, all the brakes get rebuilt, and it gets reassembled. It takes about 5 or 6 weeks, depending on scheduling. And then we drive it for 50 miles, make sure everything works the way it's supposed to, and then we go racing. So we don't really have, nobody really has like a truck that is identical truck that they can go test because they only last for 1,100 miles before they have to be completely torn down.
Really?
Yeah.
So everything, when you replace everything.
Yeah.
So are you replacing the engine? Like, everything?
We'll do like leak downs, check compression. We'll do engine dyno and stuff like that. The engine lasts for anywhere from 1,000 to 1,100 miles. So we'll do rebuilds depending on how many miles it's got on it, how many miles we did testing or did for some content production or whatever.
Right.
If it's got 900 miles on it and we have a 300-mile race, we'll put a fresh motor on it, or a fresh motor in it. If it's only got like 200 miles on it and we got a 500-mile race, we'll use the same engine. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into specifically this form of motorsports because it's the most abusive on materials and on equipment.
Yeah.
It's depending on the mileage, it's anywhere from a 6 to 20 hour plane crash that never stops.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
well, it seems like it's the most problem solving when it comes to driving because you look at Top Fuel. What is your driver's requirements to be good? Quick reaction times on shifting and maybe being as little weight as he can? Or
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I'm
like,
asking
what,
too. Like,
Well, yeah, feathering and getting traction and being really quick in reaction time. So like for like cross training, I don't really have that. Honestly, I try and keep myself in good shape, and I have a certain directed exercises that kind of benefit me in a certain aspect. I've done jiu-jitsu for 15 years. That helps when you got guys that are trying to murder you
right
on the mat. You don't typically get intimidated by somebody trying to battle in some kind of race where we're going through intersecting lines and you know one of the really good top level guys is trying to pass you. I don't really get intimidated by that at all because I've been choked by professional fighters for a very long time, and I've been like their test dummy when I work out and doing strength and conditioning with some guys that are pretty brutal. So really for like 1,000 or like a very long race like a 500 or Vegas Reno, I know it sounds silly, but I'll leave for like when I came in the other night, I didn't get in until 4:00 in the morning, and I did that by design. So that's I usually go to bed late,
right,
but not that late. So I will. A road trip is really boring in comparison to going 136 miles an hour at 3 a.m. in Baja when you can't see 100 yards in front of you, and it'll take 300 yards for you to get slowed down to hit something that's really big. So as it relates to like focus and attention, I kind of treat it the same way, even though there's not really any hazards that like you have in racing on like a regular highway, but because it's so boring in comparison to having, being in a real race car and very loud and lots of stuff going on. It does help with my mitigation of like fatigue, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So sleep deprivated driving and monitoring, my endurance and, my attention to detail on certain things helps.
Have you ever had to poop yourself in a race? Because I feel like we're not talking about the biological functions. Like,
man.
you have
22 hours,
or you just like
you just piss them.
Like,
I used to just like when I was younger and I was racing buggies, I didn't wear external catheter, but I've worn an external catheter for a long time. I pee on the floor and it goes out the bottom of the truck. You don't want to do it like in a pit,
right?
Because your guys will dive under there and be like, something's leaking. And then fuck you, BJ.
did you eat asparagus, BJ? You son of a bitch.
Just eating asparagus and drinking water the entire time. Like,
like how do you do number 2, man? Like, is that like jump out of the
or do you
car?
just
You make
not
sure
even-
it's done before you get in the truck.
Yeah.
But if you're years and years into this, there's got to be like
There
a
have been an
Chipotle
opportunity.
mishap. You know?
A mishap.
There was one maybe. But if you know
You don't
better,
have to tell us if you don't
know
want.
that
I'm
you-
just curious.
You're like loading up on MCT oil and fucking kale shakes before you get in the truck.
That was
empty your
fiber
old
diet.
system.
Stop and get some
That's part of the
sushi
prep.
vending vending machine in
vending
Vegas.
sushi.
I haven't had it happen to where like I need to go number 2 or take a shit in the race truck. Because I know a lot about and I've researched a lot about human performance and how the body works and biomechanics and everything else. So I've never put myself in a position where that might be a possibility. But my mentor one time had an issue like that, and he got out of the truck and he had shit sandwiched in between his shoulder blades.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a big problem.
I literally bring that up because, in the mill or anything like that, like there's been certain times for me is like doing overlands and that, like you're in a vehicle for 4 or 5 hours and who knows what defect food you just had and or the water to try to hydrate over like doing direct action stuff. Like you can't always control your biological functions, and it's not like you're going to stop an armed convoy to be like, hey guys, Specialist or Sergeant Best has to take a shit. Let's all fucking do a VDO real quick and let's get out, pull security while so you have to be creative in your biological functions.
You know what? I never thought of that. I never thought of like, you guys being over there and
Oh, I know.
in
plenty
the
of people
hornet's
that
nest.
shit. I have a friend that tells a story. He was in a striker. He's the gunner, and same thing. Went to fart, completely crapped himself on target, and it was like,
Yeah.
In there on his gun, just taking like toilet paper.
Every
But it's like you can't do anything else. You can't you're pulling security for a freaking assault force. Like you can't be not in the gun.
every set of cries I had stains in them. Every set. Because
like
I was living with Afghanis,
And you were eating
I was
the food.
eating local food, and they would fill that thing up with so much oil, like
Fat.
goat fat and all these when that stuff would cool down, there was a layer of fat. I remember this red stuff. I loved it. It was amazing.
It's
It was
the best. But when they
so good. But
like
dude,
an
when
inch
it
and a
cooled
half.
down, there's an inch and a half of fat on the top of that. So you'd have, bread and this red sauce stuff, and I would just fucking devour it.
I forget the
I
name
ate
of
shit
that.
solid for 3
Someone
years.
will know in the show. But
3 years.
It's like
3
that.
years.
It's that
3
lamb
years.
bone broth where
Dude,
they just take
so
every
good.
part. It's the
So
best thing
good.
ever with the
God,
prawn bread in there.
A
But
fire suit though, like getting it in your oh, dude, I'm just
Yeah.
No,
picturing that.
then
Like,
my-
oh no.
My freaking Tacoma gun truck, I would literally put a fucking brown towel on that thing and be like, this is going to be a long day. Might as well prep.
especially
Gotta prep my battle space here.
especially if you're like in a level 7 or anything, like you
You're
can't
not
break
cracking.
seal.
Yeah.
Like you can't break
Yeah.
seal. Like windows are up, you can't roll them down. Like you can't get out of the truck if
Giant
you're rolling
AM
two guys.
PM thermos in a bus. That one wasn't pretty.
You would poop in your thermos?
Oh no, that was the last resort.
Oh, yeah.
We were in a bus driving to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
No one wanted to stop.
No.
Oh,
It brings back horrific memories of how bad I've had to either take a shit or piss.
I know.
In the military
That's the
and other
worst.
stuff.
Because
You're
it
sitting
ruins
there like-
everything. You're like, you can't even think.
No,
People
you
are trying to
can't.
talk
You're
to you,
like-
and
you're
you're just like,
sweating and you're like,
can you just leave me alone?
No.
Just get the fuck away from me right now. I
Full
don't
of
want to hear
lamb bone
any
broth.
Yeah. Oh god.
full lamb
Oh, God.
bone
Okay.
broth. I remember so many times I would do Murph 3 times or whatever in a row, just destroy myself. And I would be like, all right, we gotta go. And I'm like, oh, dude, my legs don't even function right now.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning on moving for a couple days. It's it's time to go. And it's when you ate, you slam a bunch of shakes, and then you're like, my legs can't move because they're fucked, completely fucked. And my guts are full
You're a
of
muscle failure.
protein, muscle milk and MCT oil. And I'm like, oh, if we get in a gunfight, I'm not gonna be able to move. And I'm going to shit my pants for sure. I'm going to completely blow these things out. 1,000%.
Well, we used to have that specific stand down time. Hypothetically, it's just 6 a.m. is stand down time because daylight stuff. So I would get, it would be 5:15. I'm like, oh, there's nothing going on tonight. And I would chug 2 scoops of freaking pre-workout, and then my pager would go off. And I'm like, oh God, I'm sitting in the strike I'm gonna fucking shoot everybody. I'm like, okay, no more pre-workout until I know within reason that we're not going out.
You wanna know a
Shit you don't
secret?
think about.
So do you take anything while you're driving?
I was just gonna let you guys in on secrets. No one knows about this.
Well, then
No one's gonna know after this either.
That's okay. I know it sounds really silly, but when you have really bad diarrhea, you're like, fuck, dude. And you gotta take Pepto-Bismol,
Yeah.
and then it clears up, right? Well, when you don't have really bad diarrhea and you take Pepto-Bismol, you don't shit for
3 days.
2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
So, at the
It's the
end of
charcoal.
1,000. Yeah. At the at the end of the 1,000, I wouldn't go to the bathroom till the next day, and I would be brutally beaten.
Yeah.
I would, and I would go to the bathroom then. But
I think this is a great marketing campaign for us.
Yes.
It's are you a trophy truck driver that took Pepto and can't shit? Black Rifle Coffee. Help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are
Cleanse your
very,
colon.
very
Yeah.
niche commercials just for
Just for
oh,
people.
some guy's
but-
finally sitting on that's me.
PJ's just yeah, of course. Flying Oak. That's what I use, or whatever.
cleans me right out.
No,
Dude.
charcoal. If you just
Activated charcoal.
yeah, you can just put regular charcoal in water.
I don't think that's a
yeah,
thing.
100%. I've done it. Yeah.
For barbecue.
I was on a can. We were all out in the field, and I had the horrible diarrhea. I couldn't stop. And the sear dude, The first time Sear guys ever did anything. Walked over and was like, grabbed charcoal out of the fire, mixed it in this bottom of a water bottle. He's like, chug this. No shit. Stopped. I was healthy. Like that.
Wow.
Got my color back. I mean, it was awful, but that's what's in Pepto-Bismol. It's charcoal.
He also finished it off with a kiss, which could have very well contributed to it as well. The Sear instructor just moved in on you. And he's like, drink this.
Drink this. Why's your hand on my face? And then he got his belt out, put it around my neck. I mean, Air Force Sear people are colorful.
They are colorful.
They're
colorful people.
That is hilarious.
So do you take your you take your road trips, and I'm trying to be very sensitive to this, but there might be only one way to discuss it, which is how do you avoid getting tickets on road trips? Because there's no way you go within the speed limit. You told me one time, I think it was on our previous podcast, you've gotten like 40 tickets or something like that, like, or 100, 200, 300.
April.
Right. So you don't even avoid it. You just say, fuck it.
I mean, kind of. I have like countermeasures, and I know a lot about how law enforcement works and stuff like that. I got a experience, but and I joke around like, most days I don't have a license. I've got 3 warrants right now. Don't tell anybody. It's in my mind, because I'm kind of a psychopath. It's a small price to pay for having the freedom. And I don't ever put anybody in jeopardy. I don't like scare anybody. You'll never see me blowing past somebody at 140 miles an hour. Which is primarily why, like, when I go on road trips and stuff like that, I travel at night.
Right.
I don't travel when there's a lot of cars out. And my car is, I always check. I do stuff that people don't do. I check tire pressure, before I leave. I make sure it's adequate. I'm not talking about like good tire pressure. I'm like, I want to make sure it's got enough tire pressure to where the tire is not going to grow and deflect and lose contact patch after 200 miles an hour.
Got it.
So, and I could check tread depth. I have DOT approved road race tires on my street car. I know what surface I am on. I know the road. So it's not like I just see like, oh, this is kind of straight. Let's try and travel through time. No, it's not like that at all. I have all the intelligence, and I am operating in the same parameters that I do with racing, whether I'm in traffic or it's, 2 a.m. on a highway I know and I'm going 150, 160 miles an hour. So I have not followed a speed limit since 1996. And I get 3 tickets a year.
Really? That's it?
Yeah. So, before I pull out of the driveway, I've done exhibition of power, waste of natural resource, exhibition of speed, reckless driving. So, and I don't, like I said, I don't do it to where anybody would see that and scare the hell out of them.
Right.
But, I don't believe the government's recommendation for speed on like a highway. Like, how is this semi, have the freedom to go 70 miles an hour when it's 95% in its ability and its capacity to travel at that rate of speed?
Right.
When this particular platform that I drive, whether it be a diesel truck that I'm driving that day or my car, like my car is designed to go over 200 miles an hour, and it will
stop a lot faster too.
It will stop a lot faster. The brakes are carbon ceramic. I got DOT approved road race tires that weighs 3,450 pounds. How do I have the same speed limit as something that weighs 120,000 pounds and this guy's been driving for 15 hours and he's extremely tired?
Right.
So I just don't subscribe to that. I don't believe in that. I think it's stupid. I know it's a complex problem to solve, to give people a little bit more freedom on the roadway, to have special licenses and special lanes for people to travel at a little bit higher rate of speed and have a little bit more fun. But truth of the matter is, nobody follows the speed limit. I just exceed it by a lot more than everybody else.
But it's also like where you're at. Like I haven't been able to find a pattern. We did a podcast with Angry Cops about this. Like, Washington State, speed limits on all freeways are 60 miles an hour. Texas is majority 80. Why?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there is a rhyme or a reason. I think that there's probably, it's just like all laws, right? It's like the one size fits all shoe for government, which is, if they were all issuing us a shoe, it would fit a very small percentage of the people very well. And then everybody else, it's either too big or too small. So
that's
it's either
a great way of putting it.
That's law. Like that's just
Yeah.
the way it is. Like it fits everybody. And I shouldn't say every law is like that, but like the majority of them are exactly like that. And then when they're making their decision, are they making their decision based on data? Are they making it on safety? Are they making it based on, a lobbyist that's been in their ear that's like, oh, I think this is the way it should be. I mean, there's so many different contributing factors to this. Like, yeah, it's humans, right? It's like gun laws are a perfect example of that. It's like, how many fucking gun laws are on the books right now? All of us are gun heads. Do we even know?
Kinds of
We don't- I
weird.
don't know.
Is it weird?
Fucking
It is, and it's
bullshit.
like what? This stock is acceptable, but this one isn't because it's off by a fucking eighth of an inch or whatever.
Guns
And
in
it's
your
like,
car, your magazine has to be in a different location.
Oh, yeah, in
Like, what the
certain
fuck's the
states.
point then?
Yeah.
Like, what are you stopping with it? What problem are you solving with that law?
The people that are making these laws know nothing about violence. Bingo, right?
and I think that people that are making traffic laws
No, nothing
No,
about
nothing.
driving.
know
About
nothing about
collisions.
driving.
Speed
and they don't,
has
like,
nothing to do with like mortality. And
Right.
in my mind, I know people's like watches me like, man, he's dumb. No, speed has nothing to do with mortality. A fatal collision on an inanimate object, I think it was 10 years ago, it might be a little bit higher now, is 37 miles an hour.
Right.
So if you hit something that will not move or absorb impact in a regular production car, the average production car, at 37 miles an hour, you're going to get basal skull fracture and die instantly. It's kicking the cord out of the wall. So why don't we have a speed limit? If that's the case, why isn't the speed limit worldwide 36 miles an hour?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, they don't know anything about the stuff that they're making laws. The short barrel rifle thing is one of the things that frustrates the hell out of me. I think it's so stupid. I think it is so dumb.
Completely agree.
Because the government is saying, well, if it's a short barreled rifle, we need to have it registered. We need to do all this stuff. You got to jump through all this hoops. You got to pay us all this money. Well, I'm trying to ballistically, I want a rifle you can make the argument that is less dangerous than a rifle that you don't need, because a 16-inch rifle with a 16-inch barrel
Has a higher muzzle velocity.
has a way higher muzzle velocity. Kinetic energy transfer is way different. It'll go through way more stuff than a 7-inch, 5.56. It's
Right.
way more accurate, can reach out way farther. Why we have these laws from what I understand is from 1938 when somebody got in a gunfight with a Tommy gun and it was short. You can get it out a window.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't understand why we have to do all that. And they don't ever give it back.
No.
No, I mean, it's the same thing
They
that
don't.
parallels the suppressor conversation. I mean, people truly believe that you can't hear them. I mean, unless you're know what you're really doing, shooting specific types of grain and subs and all blah, 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 blah. But at the baseline of that, it's for hearing safe.
Yeah.
For kids to be able to shoot and a little bit of recoil management and that whole conversation has just been taken took in the wrong direction. That
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it goes
but
back to the
they
basic
have-
principle that we invented it, and then they said, no, nobody needs that unless you ask us.
But that's the problem, is that you have a bunch of people that want to tell other people what to do, right? That's the premise of this, right, is just power and control. At the end of the day, it's like one section of people want to tell somebody else what to do. It could be speed limits. It could be, whether or not it's suppressed, not suppressed, SBRs or whatever. If lawmakers didn't have anything to do, right? Well, they might be held accountable for all their actions, which would be totally different.
that'd be weird.
That's a completely different side conversation. They might be actually held accountable for the shit that's going on. My integrally suppressed rifles that we have, because you have one, I have one, they're
have
fucking
lots.
awesome, right?
Yeah.
To your point, I have a 300 Win Mag integrally suppressed rifle. It is not quiet at all.
no, but
it is quieter.
It's quieter.
You're not going to hear it.
It's
10 miles away,
Yeah.
which is super nice, by the way, because also noise pollution is a real thing. And when you go out into the middle of fucking nowhere,
When I can't
it's
tell
a
you
big
how many
deal.
times I've been fucking hunting, and God bless my Texas brethren, but my buddy will be next to me and he's like, hold on. I'm like running for my Peltors in the razor. Just boom.
Yeah.
You
I'm
guys-
like, oh my God, there goes more of my hearing. It's
It's
a lifelong
different.
injury, dude. My hearing is probably 60% of what it used to be.
Yeah.
You've got to
What?
placate what the lion's share of people's experience and knowledge of weapons comes from Hollywood. So when all of the 1980s was pew, 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 pew.
They screw on a suppressor on,
Yeah,
like,
and then it's
on
just-
like a 50 cal and it's 3 inches long and then it's like completely quiet. Or they just like put a pillow over a
Yeah.
pistol and you're
a
like,
pistol.
you know how fucking loud that would be?
A pillow's the one baffle and it mutes the whole
Yeah,
entire.
it's just like, but that's it. When that's all you know, then people are just like, hey, we need to ban suppressor.
Well, that and video
Yeah.
games. That
Good
and video
idea.
games too. I mean, the whole nine.
Let's see.
So
Yeah. None of these people know anything about it. Like, you know, a silencer is super quiet. Okay. I know a guy really, really well. I see him every single day that used to test in his house. He used to do terminal ballistics in his house without a silencer. Well, he told me. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Right.
But
Allegedly.
he may or may not have can either confirm or deny that he's shot 1,500 rounds inside of his house without a suppressor, and he knows both of his neighbors, and they've never said shit. So, like
Right.
in here, the person outside, I can dump 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 rounds in the corner right over there. The person that's walking the dog outside, the only person that's going to hear it is the dog.
Mhm.
You know, so silencers, it's all, you know, situation dependent, but that's not changing violence. You know,
Yeah,
that's not
no.
making anybody safer.
No.
I don't know.
And I mean, and the gun heads that are purchasing like a high-end boutique type items like this, like comps and suppressors and, you know, we'll call it higher end ammunition. Like these guys aren't out committing crimes. That's the other thing that people don't realize. Like this population of people, they're not out committing crimes with these things. You don't go down and buy a silencer co or, you know, a dead air and think, oh, well, this is going to be great for, no, man, this is going to be great for going out and recreating with. Like I just bought my daughter not too long ago, like she has an AI 6mm, like Accuracy International heavy barrel with a suppressor,
nice.
right? The reason for that is because it's long, it's heavy, and it's quiet, and she can shoot out to 1,000,000. My daughter can shoot this thing better than like a pellet gun or anything else. It's quiet. It doesn't scare her. It doesn't have any recoil. Like you can bench it, set it on the ground, put it on a bipod, put it on sandbags, whatever it might be, right? But it doesn't scare her, and she can shoot out to 1,000,000.
But that's the thing.
She's 7 years old.
The largest misconception too is like when you're firing a larger firearm, it's usually not the recoil that's the most impactful. It's the overpressure from the break or the muzzle.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just like most, because a lot of those have huge buffers. They're heavy. They accept recoil pretty well on your shoulder. It's the freaking noise pollution that really rocks your head and gives you mild concussed, honestly, because you're eating so much overpressure and that whole
even with hearing
conversation.
protection, you get it through your sinuses, especially with like 50 cal. It shocks your body.
But I mean, it goes back to you can trace the data, and it's a cliff. When you look at the crime, violent crime committed by an American citizen that has legally purchased 2 or more firearms.
Exactly.
So then what are these laws doing?
What about CCW holders?
Zero. It's virtually zero.
Virtually
You could call it
less
virtually
violent
zero.
crime than law enforcement officers on statistically
There's a statistic
speaking.
that came
So
out.
there should be, what you guys are telling me is there should be a movement in America for people to get a CCW and to purchase multiple firearms, and we would eliminate crime.
Yeah.
Reciprocity.
Pretty
Look-
much.
Look at all the states. All the states that have got these crazy gun laws where you can buy an assault rifle and you can have anybody can have a CCW. Okay, how do the violent crime in those states compared to states that are
Chicago
super
still beats 'em.
restrictive? Like Chicago still beats it.
Chicago still beats them.
Predators, are
And that's just
gonna
one
go-
city.
Yeah, exactly. Predators are going to go where it's easier to get whatever it is that they want, and they do that where it's less likely to run into somebody that has a concealed carry.
Right.
I think the more you know about any subject, the more you're going to like deep dive into like specifically firearms or driving safe handling, right? And the majority of guys that I know that are gun nuts are the safest, law enforcement, military, or civilian that are gun nuts are the safest people I've been around on ranges. It's usually the people that just aren't really into it and they just like got this one thing. They're like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Those are the people that I'm like, okay, you need to like, this is a tool, but you got to learn it, just like a vehicle. Like you can't throw a 16-year-old in some freaking 700 horsepower engine and be like, go. You know, you got to like learn your tools, and it's weird to see a lot of those people in the firearms community, like me specifically, like this guy's a nut. And you're like, dude, I'm probably one of the most safest motherfuckers with the firearm. How I stow it, how I carry it, knowing my laws, you know, all that stuff, right? But
yeah, I don't.
But we're the guys getting discredited for it when I'm actually probably one of the guys that knows way more than the average person.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm the same way, which is like, I understand the laws. I understand like the state that I'm traveling to and what the law is specifically regarding the state, because it means something to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be in a bucket of, criminal behavior with a firearm in any circumstance whatsoever, because I truly respect, one, my right to carry. And I also respect law enforcement to that, so if we're traveling from state to state to state and I don't have reciprocity, depending on what I have, I get out and I do a little Google with my phone and be like, all right, what is it? And by now I know pretty much where I'm going and what I'm doing most of the time. So it's like, if you need to separate your magazine from your pistol or whatever it might be, then it's like one's in the glove compartment, one's here, and you just got to do it. It's kind of ridiculous at times, because you're like, okay, I just got to do it, but I got to do it because I don't want to break the law. And two, I don't want to have any blemish because I want to continue to buy firearms, right? So it's like, that's another important thing for me. I think with like...
Jared and I got pulled over going to El Paso, and we actually had a mutual friend with the law enforcement guy that pulled us over, and we ended up having the last 5 minutes of our conversation because I was like, hey, I got a gun under my seat, gave my seat. And he's like, awesome, what is it? I'm like, oh, dude, it's a custom 48. He's like, nice, we built it. And we had like a 5-minute like conversation about custom guns. And he was like really cool. Like, the second we rolled down the windows, I'm like, hey man, got guns in the car, just so you know, like, law abiding citizen, blah, blah, blah. He was super rad about it, but it was just funny to see like the end portions of that conversation were about what kind of firearm carry. I'm like, oh nice, you got a Glock with
It's like, I had
what's up?
Like I had that STI with like a comp, extended mag, and a flashlight or whatever. Same thing. It's like in Texas, and dude was like, "Is it the new STI?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, you wanted to like take it out?" No shit. He's like standing by the road, like fucking. Oh wow, look at this thing, man. I love these things. Like, I heard the Texas Rangers get these issued now. I'm like, yeah, that's what I think. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
So
that's right.
Or the contrary with Fair Oaks PD, where they're just like, why do you have a crossbow and a shotgun?
Because we were filming a commercial.
What's that? Why would you do that?
Why would you do a commercial? We are a coffee company. We like crossbows and guns, and last time I checked, they're still legal. And it was only 9. The
There's
guy's
a
like,
speed trap. That's their only purpose
like,
of their PD is a speed trap by the school.
It was 9:30 at night, and no shit. They were like, "Why are you guys out so late?"
That's
we're
what
like,
we did the Veterans Reform movie.
"I'm 40 years old, man. It's 9:30. What do you mean? Why?
What's this crossbow and this gun in the back?
Hey, to their defense, mildly, that Fair Oaks area into Bandera and stuff, there are so many fucking poachers, like not changing course here.
Is it poaching? Is that what they worry about?
Bro, dude. So one of my neighbors is good friends with this rancher that lives probably within 10 minutes of me.
One of my good friends throws out
Just,
at night.
We hang
out at night sometimes. But dude, there was a no shit professional hit on one of his buddies' ranches. These dudes broke in through a gate, pulled in, and executed 2 trophy whitetails. I think they were like plus 300 high fence SCI deer.
You think?
No, I saw the photos. Yeah, my neighbor was like, where'd you get those nice Euro mounts? No, but like I saw the photos. Like they like executed them, these freaking deer, and then chopped the heads off, left the ear tags and everything because they're worried about GPS tracking units potentially in the ear tags. Like, so like that's a big part, I think.
So they just wanted the meat
out there. No, they want the antlers.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Like if you have a high fence, let's just say 300 SCI deer, dependent on the ranch and what their rates are, bro, you're looking at like anywhere from $12,000 to $18,000. Like that's fucking gold. It really is. And so these poachers will come out there, resell them to other places, and they'll make $4,000 or $5,000 off the antlers. It's yeah, it's no joke. And so I think a lot of people, like when you're just cruising around the back of the truck guns, because you see. I've seen it plenty of times, even where I live. Like you'll be driving by an Axis and there's just this massive body dead in the road. Its head's chopped off. Now, I don't know if they shot at a ranch and just kicked the deer out, but I'm like, bro, why you got to waste the meat, dude? Don't be an asshole. So like there's some definite people up there that are.
It does go to feed the turkey vultures.
True.
You know?
It is a circle of life.
It's a circle of life. Yeah.
We're all just a bunch of stardust. You know?
I get where you're coming from, where that officer was like, now I understand a little bit better, where he was like, hey, you know, what is all this stuff for? I've got one better than that. I got pulled over one time and gave him a license registration. He says, what's the screwdriver for?
What?
And I was looking at it. I'm like,
I don't know, screwing.
How did this guy become a law enforcement officer? He's definitely not going to make detective. And I just turned towards him and I said, it's for driving screws. Like self-explanatory, right? Yeah. But he was like, he was a younger guy, but I got a good laugh out of it. And, you know, but I've been pulled over a couple times where it's, you know, they're like, what's that? You know?
But see, I'm just going to be defensive law enforcement.
Yeah, you know, I'm down with that too.
I feel there's some videos out there on YouTube where law enforcement officers ask really fucking stupid questions on purpose.
Yeah.
Because there's this one, it was from years ago training. I think I was actually contracting when they showed this video, but the law enforcement officers interviewing someone, they're like, hey, do you have any drugs, illegal firearms, any unicorns, or any like alcohol open bottles? And he's like, none of those, sir. So he cues off right there going, this motherfucker didn't go, did you just ask me about having a unicorn in my car?
Do you have any illegal firearms, drugs, unicorns, or
turning out or whatever it was?
Yeah, angry cops talked about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense to be like, because I feel like if I was a freaking cop, I would probably troll people.
Oh, I've got unicorn meat.
Yeah, you got any unicorn meat?
Got unicorn jerky.
Like, no unicorn meat. And you're like, you're fucking weird, bro. You're
got
on
a
some
unicorn
weird shit.
dick on ice in the back.
Probably like 5 times I've asked, like they've asked, you know, do you have, you know, any of that or grenade launchers or anything like that? I don't have any of that. I haven't been drinking. I have one grenade launcher, you know, like give it back to them.
Yeah, give it back to them.
So it's pretty funny.
It's not in my car, but I do own a grenade launcher.
I would invite law enforcement to ask me those questions. Do you have any unicorn meat or grenade launchers in there? And
yes,
be like,
please.
Honestly, it's 50-50. To be fair, it's 50-50, man.
Let me go ahead and start digging through the back. I've got kids.
And by the way, BJ, you were talking about Evan's Raptor. And so what I had to one up and do was, because they're really hard to find, the Raptors right now.
Humble Matt's coming out right now.
I got mine. I bought a Dodge TRX. I worked out how to get it.
Get on this camera, please. Get on this camera. I need to see that.
I just said them the other day. It was where inside the engine and inside the car, there's a picture of a dead Raptor with the T-Rex in the mouth. Because all my friends have Raptors, like all of them.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And that, dude, the amount of like stuff.
What do you mean all my friends? You traded your Raptor in for this. You are all your friends.
I know, but I had to one up them because I'm super humble and never want to be on top.
We were at, JT and I went up to do Rogan's show like a month ago, whenever it was. And it was like a kid in a candy store because we were talking about cars. And I'm building this Bronco that's like 850 horse. Like it's fucking nasty. It's like this fucking badass, like 69 Bronco. Looks like a 69 Bronco, but it's definitely not. And Rogan's like, oh, you like cars? I was like, I like cars. They're cool, you know? And he's like, dude, I got a Hennessy TRX out here. And so he's like, goes out 900. It's like 900 horse.
Yeah.
He's like,
whatever,
fires
Rogan,
it up.
Whatever, man. You gotta get the Hennessy version.
Awesome. Dude,
I don't need more than 700 horsepower. That thing might already. Those freaking.
This Bronco is light as shit and it's 850. I'll show you the dyno. It's fucking nasty.
It'll make clouds.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah.
Those new, they have the apps now. I think one of them is called Uconnect on the Dodges, but it runs analytics on your engine. And if there's an issue, it texts it directly to the dealer and they'll like, so it's doing full
telemetry.
Like, it knows everything like tire pressure. I mean, most cars do that, but it's like, it's running analytics on startup every single time. And it's telling you that everything's good with the car. So like, you don't have to do really any more of the guesswork, especially for a guy like me that doesn't like really know how to work on cars like professionals. So it's fucking cool.
I can't believe we're there where like they're updating like telemetry on, you know, fuel curve and all this stuff.
Hey, you need an oil change and you need a new spark plug in cylinder 3.
Yeah, right? It's crazy.
And the funny thing is like I started building this Bronco like a year ago, probably give or take 6 months ago. And I went so woke in the last few months I have
Is it purple now?
I have an M2 like pendulum mount for the roll cage, so I can put a
so you're
50.
putting M2 on
I
yours?
put a fucking. I bought a fucking 50 cal pendulum mount on the roll cage,
Good.
so I can take
You're
the
like,
top
fuck
off
the internet.
and like heck. And then I've got STI. I've got custom box magnet pistol boxes on the interior for STIs, and then SBR mounts for the back, so we can take the top off and have a full 50 cal on the top with SBR mounts and then STI pistol
Okay.
mounts
You're
on the
really
interior.
interesting leftist.
I know. I went
Yeah, you
woke and I was like, I need a 50 cal mount for my Bronco. It's 800 horse. Oh my God.
I'm glad. So you went an M2. I was thinking about putting a 46 on top of my Chevy C10.
I went
I
full
have a
into
1972 C10 Chevy that I bought.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's gangster. But I was going to do a belt fed on there because the truck's a little lighter.
Yeah.
And it's got coil springs. So kind of.
Why not do a double belt fed mount?
Huh?
Just a double belt fed mount with a butterfly trigger.
That is true. You can do the butterfly on double.
You see where you're at?
I like this. I like this. If I ever do this, I'm doing an M134.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well,
Wow. Welcome
shit.
to the team.
Welcome
Right.
to the team, BJ. It's been awesome.
I feel like I'm home.
Yeah. You're home. Awesome.
That concludes today's training. Any questions?